44.
The tragic murder of Athena Valentiny, a 64-year-old nurse, shocked the quiet community of Grover Beach, California. On October 24, 2018, Athena was brutally killed in her home, and the investigation that followed revealed a chilling tale of deception, financial desperation, and familial betrayal. This video delves into the investigation that led to the conviction of her son, Levente Laszlo Lazar, for her murder. On October 25, 2018, law enforcement officers conducted a welfare check at Athena Valentiny's residence after concerns were raised because she failed to show up for work. Upon entering her home, they discovered her lifeless body marked by multiple stab wounds. The scene was gruesome, and the absence of a murder weapon added to the complexity of the case. After speaking with neighbors, officers determined the victim's dog was missing. That was a key point because the dog was well loved by Miss Valentiny and would not go with a stranger, as what was told to us, Grover Beach Police Department Chief John Peters says. During the investigation, detectives worked to determine if Valentiny's death had anything to do with California Men's Colony, the San Luis Obispo County prison where she was employed. No connection was ever found. At the time, Levente was in college and lived in Bloomington, Indiana. After the murder, Casey Neal contacted Bloomington police, who assisted in making an in-person death notification. After learning about the killing, Lazar phoned Neal, and the assistant chief investigator asked him about the last time he had heard from his mother. He tells me that he was in Bloomington, Indiana, on the day of this murder, which is a couple thousand miles away, Neal recalls. The investigation into the murder of Athena Valentiny revealed a complex web of digital and physical evidence that ultimately led to the conviction of her son, Levente Laszlo Lazar. One of the most significant pieces of evidence came from surveillance footage. Video from a nearby business showed a figure around 6:30 that night walking toward Valentiny's home while speaking on a cell phone. Another motion-activated cameras outside Athena's unit captured the same person walking with what appeared to be her dog around 11 p.m. on the night of the murder. This footage was crucial because the dog was known to be friendly only with Athena and people she knew well, suggesting that the person in the video was someone familiar to the dog. Another critical piece of evidence was a series of phone calls. Athena received phone calls from an area code in Ohio on the day of her murder. The phone records show that the number was unfamiliar to her and had contacted her multiple times throughout the day. Investigators traced this number to a burner phone, which was a prepaid phone purchased to avoid detection. This burner phone was later found that was purchased at a Best Buy about a half-mile from Lazar's home in Indiana. It was not a coincidence that it was activated a half-mile from his house, and it was calling his mom the day she was murdered. The use of a burner phone indicated a premeditated effort to conceal his involvement. The burner phone's records showed the phone pinged towers in the days leading up to Valentiny's death in Oklahoma and along the interstate until it arrived in Grover Beach, California. Lazar's cross-country journey from Indiana to California was meticulously documented through various means. License plate readers captured his Jeep traveling across multiple states, providing a clear timeline of his movements. This evidence was crucial in establishing that Lazar was in California at the time of his mother's murder. Despite his initial denials, the physical evidence of his Jeep's travel route was irrefutable and played a significant role in the investigation. In addition to the physical evidence, Lazar's digital footprint provided damning evidence of his involvement. After the murder, Lazar stopped at a McDonald's in Winslow, Arizona, where he used the public Wi-Fi to search for news about his mother's death. This search occurred before law enforcement had even discovered her body, indicating that Lazar had prior knowledge of the crime. The timing of these searches was a critical piece of evidence that demonstrated Lazar's awareness and involvement in the murder. On November 6, 2018, after gathering substantial evidence, investigators arrested Lazar in Indiana. He was charged with the premeditated murder of his mother and was subsequently extradited to California to face trial. When we arrested Levente Lazar, I felt that there was something broken in that person, and I was more confident that he had committed this crime than almost any other I had investigated, Neil says. In November 2018, Levente Laszlo Lazar voluntarily visited the Bloomington police station and waived his Miranda rights, agreeing to speak with investigator Casey Neal. During the interview, Lazar initially denied any recent trips to California, claiming he had not visited since January 2018 and had remained within 100 miles of Bloomington. He also stated that his last conversation with his mother was a brief call on October 22nd. Lazar further denied owning any phone other than his Galaxy phone and insisted he had not purchased a Cricket phone, which investigators later identified as a burner phone used to contact his mother on the day of the murder. Lazar attempted to present himself as financially stable and without motive to harm his mother. He claimed to have completed a master's degree in history and to be employed by Walt Disney Publishing, with substantial funds in his brokerage and bank accounts. However, when confronted with evidence, Lazar admitted to purchasing the Cricket phone and traveling to California. He explained that he had gone to Los Angeles to buy marijuana legally and decided to make an impromptu visit to his mother to retrieve a ring for his girlfriend. Despite driving by his mother's residence, Lazar asserted that he did not see her and opted to return to Indiana due to prior commitments. As the interview progressed, Lazar's narrative began to unravel. He admitted to lying about his educational and employment status, revealing that his master's thesis had been rejected and he was not employed by Disney. His financial situation was also dire, with significant losses in his inheritance. Lazar's initial denials and subsequent admissions highlighted inconsistencies in his story, which, combined with the physical and digital evidence, painted a clear picture of his involvement in the murder. His behavior during the interview, marked by deception and eventual partial confessions, played a crucial role in the investigation that ultimately led to his conviction for the premeditated murder of his mother. The trial of Levente Laszlo Lazar began in late 2019 and lasted for 3 weeks. During the proceedings, the prosecution presented a compelling case built on a combination of physical evidence, digital footprints, and witness testimonies. Lazar took the stand in his defense, attempting to explain his actions and deny his involvement in the murder. The prosecution's case was robust, highlighting several key points. 1. Financial motive. Lazar's recent financial losses and his inquiries about his mother's estate painted a clear picture of his motive for the murder. 2. Travel and concealment. Evidence of Lazar's secretive travel to California using a burner phone and his presence near the crime scene on the night of the murder. 3. Digital evidence. Internet searches made by Lazar about the murder and his potential involvement before the body was discovered. Lazar's defense centered around his claim that he had traveled to California to discuss personal matters with his mother, including his intention to propose to his girlfriend. He admitted to lying about certain aspects of his trip, but maintained his innocence regarding the murder. Lazar argued that the person seen in the surveillance footage was not him and that he never entered his mother's residence. After 3 weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury found Lazar guilty of premeditated murder with the special circumstance of financial gain. On December 11, 2019, San Luis Obispo County Superior Court Judge Matthew G. Guerrero sentenced Lazar to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentence reflected the gravity of the crime and the calculated nature of Lazar's actions. The investigation into the murder of Athena Valentiny serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which individuals may go when driven by financial desperation. The meticulous work of law enforcement and prosecutors ensured that justice was served, providing some measure of closure for those who knew and loved Athena. The case also underscores the critical role of digital evidence in modern criminal investigations, highlighting how technology can both aid and hinder the pursuit of justice.